All right. Today's guest is a bit special because we have both been doing business in the UK and the US. We both AI, we like merger acquisitions, we like to grow stuff. We understand the value of getting the operator CEO out of the business. So today I've got Josh Gould on board. He is the CEO of the Big World. No, sorry, Big Word, obviously. He's based out of Miami with still business interest, of course, in the UK. Working with private equity, investing himself. So we're going to dive into lots of interesting things here. So how are you today?
I'm great, and thank you very much for having me, Fredrik.
Absolute pleasure. So yeah, we have a lot of US guests lately. Our biggest audience is actually from there, and we discussed like who is the audience. So you might even get leads from this. Who knows if you're strong enough.
I'll do my best to
Uh,
not put the audience off.
no, that's great. So again, for people who can't pick out your accent, where are you from?
So I actually was born in the UK,
Yep.
and I've lived in the Middle East, and but for all my adult life, I've actually lived in the United States.
Yes. Yeah, we discussed again, like if you can be anywhere in the world in terms of like business stuff, why not try to combine business and pleasure? So what brought you to Florida and Miami specifically, or the area there?
So yeah, it's funny for those who don't know Florida, there is no tax on income here, so you
Yes,
still have
I
to pay
know.
federal.
I very much know.
Yeah. So what I sold 75% of my business to Susquehanna
Yes.
in 2021, and everyone thinks I came to avoid the tax. Actually, I paid all the tax and then left a year later the
Yeah.
New York City area
Yes.
and came to Florida. And what brought me there was, I think, what brought a lot of people there, which is it's a state that has laws that are very pro-business,
Yep.
and the life outside of business is great. So, Frederick,
Yeah,
as an
exactly. Yeah,
entrepreneur, you
no,
don't really have
I like
yeah,
it.
there's no work-life balance. But I'm going to do a meeting, for example, actually straight after this
Yep.
on my boat. Now,
Yes.
I couldn't do that in Leeds. I mean, maybe I could do it in the river there, the Leeds Liverpool Canal, but we're going out in the boat and we're going to do a dock and dine.
Yeah. Love it.
And what a great way to do business if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, no, exactly. Why wouldn't you when you can? So yeah, I'm completely in favor of you enjoying life and doing business at the same time. So that's really good. So reversing straight back into business a bit. How did you come up with the idea of actually doing something unusual, which is like increasing your value of your company from more than a few hundred thousand? And I do know that there's some family story in it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I cannot take credit for the idea. My father started the company. It was a
Yeah.
side business to a what we would call staffing in the US, recruitment in the UK.
Yes.
And essentially, interpreters and translators are just short-term people
Yes.
who come in on a contract, so short-term contractors.
Yep.
And that's how it was until the 90s before technology became a major factor.
Yeah.
And I would say the language service industry was really the first true tech-enabled services business. A lot of people claimed the title, but
Yep.
ultimately we started building, and this is where I got my own interest in it. We started building APIs into the back end of mainly the banking industries, authoring tools and content management systems. And then we would build these workflows where we'd split up all the equity research
Yep.
from all over the world, get it translated within 40 minutes, have it back. And we were getting like 4,000 word research articles translated in 40 minutes. And the
Yep.
average linguist could only do that typically in 2 days.
Yes.
So by building this automated workflows to split it up and get it back uh, to editors and then automatically reinstall it back in so that traders could make good decisions
Yeah.
on data that no one else had because they couldn't understand it. It was only in a certain language, and now they could have
Yes.
it in whichever language. So that's how we my interest got going, and that's actually why I moved to the US
Yes.
because I was doing the night shift for the big word in the call center, which is where I started out, and then started.
Which year are we new roughly?
Sorry,
Which year are we now roughly?
we are in 2004.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was doing the night shift. We were selling to the US, and then I said, well, why sit in Leeds through the night
Yeah.
or late into night selling to Wall Street? Why not just go to Wall Street? So I came to the US in 2006
Yeah.
and set up an office on 48 Wall. And if you are familiar with the Great Recession, probably the dumbest move ever.
Hindsight, the biggest irony of investing. Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, the to cut the long story slightly less long, we had to pivot
Yeah.
because the banks all did terribly. They cut every penny they could. They were in survival mode. But George Bush came along and he's like, "We're going to give everyone loads of money."
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't qualify in the everyone bucket,
Okay.
so uh I looked at where that money is flowing, and the money was flowing into the public sector or
Yes.
government, as we would call it in the US. So we pivoted the whole business to sell to government contracts, whether that be
Yeah.
in Europe, in the UK included, or the US.
Yes.
And we grew the business rapidly during that time. Every 18 months, we would double in size, and we were building lots and lots of tech. And we really were we were selling on the tech. The
Yeah, exactly.
humans,
Yeah.
which were doing the interpretation, which is the spoken word or the translation, the written word, they were still human, but they were using a lot of AI. Right from the 90s, by the way, we were using
Yes.
machine learning. That's what we
Yeah.
used to call
Yeah, exactly.
AI for those who are confused about it. It got a rebrand, obviously, much later on.
Yes.
But at some point, I wanted to go out on my own. I wanted something on my own. So around 2013, I started a contingent workforce business in the defense space. So that might
Yeah.
be more aligned to your
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
Um, you're probably familiar with it. Unless you're known, unless you're trusted, no one is interested in speaking to you. It's like you can
Yeah.
write RFPs,
Yes.
you're not winning anything.
Exactly.
So the only way we could do that was essentially to bottom feed, go for
Yeah.
the stuff. And it's great advice for entrepreneurs. Go for the stuff that no one else wants at first.
Yes.
Get your foot through the door and then work your way up the product ladder.
Yeah.
So we did. I mean, we took small bits of Ministry of Defense work that got us like boots on the ground, literally in
Yes.
Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, anywhere where you probably didn't want to be, we
Yeah.
wanted to be there.
Yeah. I
And we would
know. I know what you
beg,
mean.
yeah, we would fly into Oman and beg to get a seat on a flight to
Yes.
Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And people were like, are you sure? Who you meeting? But we
Yeah.
had clients there, so we could. And then we got to know the generals and the people on the ground in
Yep.
charge. And then it became easier to bid for RFPs. And
Yeah.
before we
Exactly.
knew it, I was the only Jewish person in the world with an office on Jihad Street
Yes.
in Iraq.
All right. Yeah. Fair
Which
enough.
the irony wasn't lost on any of my investors at the time. Uh, so who were usually trying to avoid jihad, but
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
so that's what we did, and we did it for a long time, and it was great. But in 2017, my father wanted to leave
Yeah.
the
Please.
business on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. So we actually merged the two companies together, and that's what we have today, and that's what the big word is. It's a multilingual communications business,
Yes.
and we're primarily a government contractor, although we do have some very, very large private sector
Yeah.
accounts. We help people communicate with each other in whatever language, and we do so in real time through AI.
Yes.
We also through human, you can have a video. For example, we integrate into Zoom,
Yeah.
like we're on now.
Exactly.
Um, or we can do it face to face, like Uber. We have an app and you can click, and we do that many thousands, if not tens of thousands of times a day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very impressive. I mean, the cool thing with that is the scalability once you have got things under control and you tested it out. So yeah, we'll park AI for a second more. Coming back to the founder and how much you're involved in the daily operations, because one thing in from the pre-chat is like you don't want to be like the bottleneck yourself as a founder. And also you have interests outside business as well. So what have you done to make yourself slightly more redundant?
Yeah, so I think first of all, we would be in big trouble if I was involved in the day-to-day running of the business because it is the qualifications now to do
Yeah.
that are vast because you've
Yes.
got, for example, my COO, my chief operating officer, who does run it day to day, he
Yeah.
was the CTO of the company or CIO.
Okay. Yes.
It's so technical. And when our service rates go down, we start writing lines of code to change the
Yeah.
algorithms.
Yes.
And I consider myself very technical, but I cannot do that.
Yeah. I
And
understand.
yeah, so for a start, you just can't be everything at scale. And there's a big difference between entrepreneurs who create themselves a job, and there's
Yep.
nothing wrong with it,
No,
but you
no.
cannot scale that. You still only got 24 hours in a day. And even if you're going to get paid $1,000 an hour and you somehow aren't going to ever sleep and you're never going to
Yes.
stop working, your maximum income is $24,000
Yeah.
a day, which is great.
Yep.
But most people do have to sleep and do have to eat and aren't going to get paid $1,000 an hour. So you need to build something that scales. So the way I do it is we're a global business. We operate in over 80 countries. We have
Yes.
15,000 people that work for us, both as freelancers every single month and full-time employees. But we have to be local because you travel all over the world and the cultures matter and people
Yeah, of
don't
course.
want,
Yes.
work with people outside their culture. Now, it's really obvious in our office in China or Japan, but it's way less obvious in our office in Miami, which
Yeah.
has its own culture and its own vibe. I've
Yes.
got people in shorts and sandals.
Yep.
That
Exactly.
wouldn't fly if they were going to go and see my clients in New York. So
Yeah.
there's
Or
different
China for
cultures,
that
and
matter. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
yes, you have to build local teams who understand the terrain and what people want. And then the products and services are different too. So in the US, where lawsuits come thick and fast, AI is a much higher risk than, say, in the UK, where people are a bit more pragmatic about
Yes.
lawsuits. And
Yeah.
and again, the everything is publicly funded, where AI becomes a bigger opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we have had many experts here, and I think the biggest testimony amongst experts is like there's so many levels of AI maturement and different organizations. So it's easy to talk about it, but in reality, there are very few people actually using it in a relevant way yet. I can see that your business is because you were early and it's very practical. So yeah, now I can see how that works for sure.
AI has been in over 90% of our workflows since
Yes.
1998.
Yeah.
And we started with very basic machine learning where we could reuse previously translated content and
Yeah.
figure out whether it was in context. And now we have, real-time on-demand voice
Yeah.
AI. So it's changed dramatically since the 90s to now. But every time we bring it in, it's a 5-year war. And the
Yeah.
war isn't even external, it's internal.
So if you were like looking at an AI company at the moment, what would be your preference? Partnering, investing, or acquiring, assuming that they actually fitted into your portfolio, so to speak?
Yeah, so to use a very British term, it's horses for courses,
Yeah.
right? So is this core to your business? And I think
Yes.
anything absolutely core to your business, you need to own
Yeah.
because for a number of reasons. If you want to raise money, it's very hard to say that the core of my business isn't controlled by me. I mean, that's a huge risk.
Good point.
And, they're also going to go and then sell that on to other people because they don't want to only have one client, which is
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
If it is a value add or a bolt on, I don't think you need to own it.
Yeah.
I'll also say this. I don't really know anyone who's building AI. I know people who are building wraparound services to AI,
I
who are
agree.
tuning AI,
Yeah.
who are reutilizing AI. The only people who are truly building AI are the Anthropics and the Googles and the Microsofts. And you don't want to be them
Yeah,
because, I mean,
it's very costly.
let's take ChatGPT. You
Yes.
know, they want to go public, so they're putting a lot of their information. Um, they they inked deals last year for $1.4 billion.
Yeah.
And last year they did about $20 billion. So you can see, and I think that they're burning through over $10 billion of cash. So
Yes.
they haven't figured out, and here's the scary thing: if you're going to invest in ChatGPT, it scales negatively. So the
Yes.
bigger you get, the more money you're going to lose because of the amount
Yep.
of electricity and hardware and tuning. So it's a really good place to invest in AI for scale. But what you want to do is take these engines and figure out how you solve a problem. So just to go back to your question, Frederick, the big issue of a lot of, you know, quote unquote AI companies
Yes.
is quite often they exist to raise money, not to solve problems.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
what happened. You know, that's the dot-com bust all over again. So I don't
Indeed.
know if we're going to have an AI bust. I think we might have a deflation when
Yes.
people realize that this is
Some
really,
cleaning up
hard.
and yeah, consolidation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so you've got to figure out, this is my thought process. Is it core? If it's core, you need to own it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's AI or HI, human
Yeah.
intelligence.
Yeah.
Is it a good bolt on? Does it really solve a problem? And it's funny because I went to look to acquire a company 2 weeks ago, and they have an AI solution and they have a human solution. And I asked them, well, what's your take up on the AI solution? And this is AI interpretation.
Yes.
And they said, oh, AI interpreting isn't for using, it's just for selling, which is a funny way of looking at it. Because
Yeah.
he says, everyone buys from us because we have it, but then no one wants to use it.
Yes.
And, so we saw that many, many years ago. We used to sell cloud-based multi-vendor solutions between just you and I, Frederick. We never
Yeah.
built it. We just
Yeah. Yeah.
sold it.
Yeah.
People would buy because they wanted to use multiple companies, but then they would actually not want to because it's too hard to manage two vendors when one will do. So yeah, so I do think it'll be used. I think it will be dramatic. Um, we saw that in the written word in the 90s in the
Yes.
industry, but I think it's going to take 15 years, maybe even 20, to really reach what people think it's going to be. The other thing about AI is the development speed is so huge right now because we started from,
Yeah.
neural machine learning or neural networks to then plugging in large language models. And that meant we jumped leaps and bounds. But the reality is that the progress from now on is going to be 1-2% a year versus 40% a year.
Yeah. Now I got a couple of like big AI warning flags. I'd like to hear your point of view as well. So one is every time we have like a huge shift in like technology, whether that's electricity, railway, or if it's internet, every single time it has like massive implication and a complete failure financially because it was too expensive to do it, to implement it. But the biggest difference this time, like unlike rail and electricity and or even the internet, AI is changing so fast, so the trillions invested now will have to be upgraded very, very soon, which means it is not sustainable from like a growth, acceleration and money point of view. What's your thinking on that one?
Absolutely. I liken it to Concorde. I don't know if you remember
Yeah, yeah,
Concorde. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
a,
yeah.
yeah, and it solved a real problem for many
Yes.
people where you could be transatlantic. So
Yeah.
you could get on in New York and you could then be in London. Literally, you would leave your
Yes.
office in New York. 4 hours later, you could be in a meeting in London. So you could have
Yeah.
a morning meeting
Yeah.
and an evening meeting in London.
Yeah.
It solved a real problem, but it didn't do so at a cost that people could afford.
True.
So
Yeah.
eventually, it went bankrupt. And we haven't seen, and the technology has got better, right? So it's improved and it's become
Yeah.
more efficient. But 20, 30 years on, my grandfather used to make the uniforms for Concorde pilots. He was a
Okay.
tailor.
Yep.
So maybe even more, 40, 50 years on, should I
Yes.
say. Um, we still don't have a supersonic passenger jet that we can get on.
Yeah.
And, but what we have seen is the regular Dreamliners and Boeings
Yeah. Much
get
more
better.
comfortable. Yes.
Yeah, they become more comfortable. They've cut down, I can do New York now to London in 6 hours.
Yeah.
When I first moved to New York, it was taking me 8, 9 hours.
Yep.
And this is what you're starting, so that is an analogy for AI.
Yes.
You,
Yeah.
it's too
That's
expensive to
helpful.
get
Yeah.
the results. So
Yeah.
what we need to do, sorry, go on.
No, no, please go ahead. Please finish off, and I'll got next one for you.
Yeah, so it's too expensive to get the results. So what we have to do is take what we have already today because the infrastructure, like you say, has got to be rebuilt every
Yeah.
probably 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
And we've now got to find a medium, a happy medium, where the technology is a good enough value to warrant solving the problem.
Yeah, 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 spot on. And also another kind of semi-cool thing is for all those people who got like an API, like a wrapper around this and reselling an AI service or company completely, that because they are learning from what you are doing, because ultimately using their platform and they are learning from that. I'm pretty sure that that is how, for example, Claude could roll out for the legal service because they learn from people who have the wrappers, which means all of a sudden many of those companies will become obsolete because they'll be part of like the original package. Just because again they can pick up the learning of all the surrounding systems. What's your thinking around that one?
Um, yes and no. I think technically you're correct, but in reality, Claude doesn't want. I just had a meeting before this
Yeah.
with a large legal services business in the US, talking about $500 million.
Yes.
And Claude doesn't want to solve the problem of multilingual communications for this particular company
Yes.
because it's trying to solve the problem for 8 billion people, not a few thousand.
Yeah.
And so
But they
you're
got
right.
money.
Yeah, the out the box product can get better legal,
Yeah.
but what it can't do is it can't say it's all going to stay in the US.
Yes.
It can't guarantee the quality. It can just say this is good quality, or
Yeah.
and then you have to figure out what good is. It can't commit to being ISO 27001, ISO 9001, and all your other favorite ISOs. It can't be Cyber Essential Plus. It can't stick human in the loop.
Yeah.
So this is where I think a lot of your viewers have to kind of, and it's what they have to understand is they're not trying to replace you as a company. What they're trying to do is maximize their return on investment.
Yep.
And their return on investment is different to yours because their investment's different to yours. So for the big word, we understand that being able to go from AI to human is of huge value to our clients, even if
Yeah.
it's just an extra 2 or 3% for mission critical work. It's not if you're trying, like for example, Claude will be just fine in a hotel lobby when you're trying to check in. But when you are doing a post-surgery information and you're trying to say we found a lesion, we're biopsying it, and they're trying to explain that.
Yep.
And then this is what you need to do. And if you have bleeding or internal bleeding, being 97% accurate is not good enough. Or if you've got a witness on a stand,
Yes.
you can't be 97% accurate as a witness.
Yeah.
That will, you'll lose the case on that. So you've got to find where human in the loop is important or
Yes.
other technology that can add value. And then the other thing is that there's integrations. Claude won't integrate into the back end of
Yep.
Claude for you. It
Yep.
might write the code for you. It may give you an API, but it
Yes.
won't do the full integration. So again, you want to build integrations. And then not Claude is really good with knowledge. I mean, I think the entire education system needs a complete rebuild because of AI. My
Yeah.
kids are still trying to
Agree.
figure out algebra. You don't need algebra anymore. You have Claude or you
Yeah.
have Gemini or
Yes.
ChatGPT. What you now need to learn is how to apply the algebra. So,
Yes.
and that's knowledge versus understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to teach understanding, and that's where companies need to invest and advise on. So these are HI, human intelligence based understandings of how to apply the artificial intelligence, which is only knowledge and can only fake
Yes.
understanding.
Yes. Yeah, saying that, I wrote a book that was really rushed to get to market because it's called The Abyss of Finance, explaining like the behind the scenes of banks and so on and the financial system as we speak, which feels very topical right now with everything going on. So one of the small sections there, I explain like the value add of the stock market in the US and the value creation in particular last year. Basically, almost like all the value add is only from the AI companies, and they all of a sudden they become half of the value of the total stock exchange, if you include
Yeah.
the 7.5 biggest ones. So what's your thinking about like value creation in the US is huge from an AI point of view, but the main businesses struggle or haven't really pivoted yet?
I think most companies don't know what to do. So you get
Yep.
Fords tell CEOs right now that
Yes.
you have to pivot hard to AI, you have to invest in AI. These are your investors predominantly. So your CEOs will either argue with that and get fired,
Yep.
or they'll agree with it and remain
And
hired.
double.
Yeah, exactly. And then your CEOs then go to your actual people who are making it happen,
Yeah.
and you're saying AI at any cost, or we need AI, 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 and the management is saying, well, what do you want us to do with it? Like, what are we trying to solve? And that's where you're getting the major breakdown. You're seeing record firings and replacement of
Yes.
CEOs, and you get an 80% of all CEOs that were hired last year were actually first-time CEOs. I can't remember who
Interesting.
did that research, but it was one of the big,
Yep.
you know, the big recruitment agencies. And the reason behind that, I believe, is because a lot of CEOs are quite experienced in this kind of huge shift in technology. They
Yes.
know it can't happen as quick as boards want. And the people who are more junior have, never been a CEO, I don't really have a lot to lose. Put your hand up, I'll try and get it done.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
I believe I can get it done. So you're seeing this huge shift, and it's going to ultimately, I think, fail in the short term. It will succeed in the long term, though. So that's why I'm investing in AI, because I
Yeah, of
absolutely
course. Yes.
believe that artificial intelligence is imperative. Because if you don't have it, you are going to be slower and you're going to be more expensive than all
Indeed.
your competitors. It doesn't matter what product you're in,
Yeah.
it'll be used in everything.
Yeah. I mean, looking upon other investors, so everything from venture capital to family offices and in brackets, private equity, they're all investing into AI, and also like assuming that you're a business owner right now listening to this and you think about exiting like 2, 3, 5 years, you need to have a certain level of readiness or adoption, or at least have the data so they can plug in AI. Otherwise, you will massively deflate your value. Comments on that one?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think ultimately investors look at risk
Yes.
and reward. Those are the
Yes.
two things that they're looking at. So when you decide that you want to invest in an industry because the risk and reward works out for you, then you're looking at which companies in the industry. Now, not all companies are for sale or want investment, so now you narrow down to maybe 75% will.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you've got to be the best of that 75%. And you're trying to figure out why one company is worth 20 times EBITDA and another company doing exactly the same thing
Yes.
is worth 10 times EBITDA.
Indeed.
And typically, the reason is that investors will grade businesses
Yeah.
based on the lowest risk, highest reward. So, for example, if your revenue is growing 25% a year, you're a lot less risky than someone's revenue is growing 5% a year.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah.
are growing.
Yes.
Um, but AI is now a major factor in that. But what will happen, I think, Frederick, in time is people won't care about AI. They'll go back to the fundamentals. Are you growing? Are you profitable? Do you
Yeah,
have good
exactly.
gross margin?
Yeah.
But you need AI to do all of those.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree. So in terms of picking on one specific thing, in terms of my research here, which might be completely flawed, uh, business called Clarion, of importance to yourself. To my knowledge, you've kept that separate from everything else. What kind of company is it, and why have you kept it like outside like the main group? And please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just thinking about now like leaving something tactical for the guys out there listening and girls.
No, it's a good question. We acquired Clarion a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Clarion was the largest sign language company in the UK. And we decided to keep it separate for a period of time
Yep.
because the brand of Clarion was very strong. It's largely a unionized business, and
Yep.
people trusted the Clarion brand, and they didn't really know in that space the big word. The big word was uh, a multilingual communications
Did.
business that hired interpreters and translators, whereas a lot of sign language folks don't see themselves in that light. So we wanted to keep the brand separate. However, over the last 2 years, we fully integrated the
Yep.
businesses behind the brand. They are the same company. So we will in time close the Clarion brand and, and it will go under the big word.
Yep. Yep.
But everything again in business has to be a risk versus reward. So, what is the cost to do so, and what is the
Yep.
reward of it? Well, there was more of a reward of keeping it separate for a period of
Yep.
time.
Yep.
There's another reason, and this might be interesting to you or your viewers who are in the government space, and that is that um, when you bid for a government contract and you have multiple lots, so you'll have one big master agreement split
Yep.
into what we call lots.
Yes.
There are times when you cannot have the same people bidding on the same lot. Doesn't matter if the same owner is
Okay.
on the lot, is on the company. So that was another reason that we did that. We split it up for that reason. And there was one particular contract, which is a huge contract, tens of millions of dollars a year, where we needed two management teams, two sales teams, and we had to create a Chinese wall within the business.
That's
So
good.
that
That's
was
very
another
interesting.
reason.
Yep. I mean, just play around with the word Chinese wall, which I really, really love. I'm not sure which people use it the most, but I learned it in England in management consulting. So on one side you're advising over here, and the other side you're advising here, and it's very much up to the trust and the discretion for the specialist to keep maybe two deals separate or something else. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it
So
happens all the time
some stories
in
around
professional.
the Chinese walls, which are now lapsed in the history that where it's actually been working well.
Yeah, so it happens all the time in the world of like audits, for example. So
Yes.
you may have KPMG do your accounting. Now, if you're a
Yep.
public company, you can't have KPMG then do your audit. You might have to go
Yes.
to PwC. But for private companies, you probably will stick with one
Yeah.
vendor. But the auditors, for the obvious reasons, are auditing their own people. So,
Yes.
yeah, this Chinese wall or, Iron Curtain, is another
Yep.
term for it.
Yep.
They are really important for governance, for government contracting, or for highly regulated businesses.
Yeah. No, I was working in the sales consulting space now. 15 years ago plus, where I was having like some of the biggest IT companies in the world as my customers. And in one country, I was like with team A, and the next time I was with like team B, and they were bidding for very large. I mean, I think the biggest contract overall was close to 7 billion euros. And I kind
Oh
of
my
knew
God.
like I'm working with them now. I used to work with them another time, but yeah,
Yeah.
super interesting. And I really like that when you can work with people that are so professional, so they can kind of like keep that working. So I really like that. Yeah. Cool. So you have also been working under the management of being involved in private equity, right? So they've invested into one of your businesses, and you have been left to operate and grow further. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I sold in 2021 a
Yeah.
majority stake to
Yeah.
Susquehanna.
Yeah.
Um, Private equity is an interesting world. It's made up of two types of investors predominantly. There are the people who essentially investing on behalf of what's called a family office.
Yeah.
So essentially, these are very, very high net worth individuals, usually minimum 100 million, but quite often in the billions
Yeah.
of dollars. And they don't have any um, time horizon. So they will keep investing for sometimes decades in the same company because they're looking at it multi-generationally.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then you get,
That's somewhat of exception, but yeah, I know quite a few doing exactly that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and they're big in, they are smaller group of people, but in terms of actual available capital, they're not small at all.
No, 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 I know
Uh,
what you mean. Yeah,
yeah, like the IKEA family have their own family office that are
yes,
notorious for good
yeah,
reasons,
yeah,
but
exactly.
it's an example. And then you've got the funds where they'll go out and they'll raise money, and typically people are still long term, but they're looking at it between an 8 and a 10-year investment. So the
Yeah,
fund will go and raise money for 2 or 3 years. It will deploy money for 2 or 3 years, and it will stay within an investment for about 5 years.
yes,
And those people are trying to grow the business as quickly as possible at all
yeah,
costs. It doesn't matter if the whole thing collapses
yeah,
often,
yeah.
as
Leverage
long
to
as
the
they can
hilt.
sell it before.
Yes,
So I always look for something called patient capital, and that's a technical term in the industry
yeah,
where you are investing in people that are building a company for the long term,
yes.
for a successful future,
It's
not
very different
just
how you do it. Yeah,
yeah,
very different.
not just very quick. And the best analogy for this, maybe, Frederick, is you, you can buy a new build apartment or flats, as we would say
Yeah,
in England. The builder has built that as cheaply as they can possibly get away with within the regulations and laws. And it doesn't matter if it's in St. John's Wood
yeah,
or it's, in
exactly.
London, which is a very expensive place, or it's in Lower Wortley, which is where
Yes.
our offices are in Leeds, and it's certainly not St. John's Wood. So, you know, the it doesn't matter. They're all trying to do the same
Yeah,
thing. Whereas patient capital is like you're building this building to last for a long, long time. And
yes.
then you're going to sell it in a long time because it's built so well. So when we went out to look for investors, we were looking very much for that patient capital. We did have offers from other investors who are
Yeah,
very good. There's
yeah,
nothing wrong
yeah.
with them. I may work with them one day and we may bring them on board one day. But
Yes.
that's what I was looking for in that time because I believed we're in a life cycle, the big word of still good growth
Yep.
and lots of rapid changes. We weren't in maturity yet. We still, we may be a 44-year-old company today, but we've still got that startup vim and energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We'll get to a point where we've lifted off every rock and it needs a different type of investor to just scale the hell out of what you've built. But we haven't finished the building stage yet.
Yeah, yeah, no, same. I'm also very much in that space. Grow, accumulate. So yeah, I'm not at all there either at the moment. Okay, so quick question. So most AI strategies are defensive. What does offensive AI look like in a real company?
So
If
we
Yeah, please. Did you hear the question, or should I repeat?
Yeah, no, I heard it. So we invested in AI offensively.
Good.
Um,
Yeah.
so we had a big debate within our management room, and that was, do we play safe or do we disrupt our own business? And my thinking was very clear. And to be frank, now as a CEO, you should always listen to everyone in the room, but you do have to make your own decision. I probably didn't do enough listening then because I
Yeah.
was just so focused on what was needed. Oh,
Yes.
excuse me. Oh, airplane mode.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening because, in my opinion, and this is the same for everyone on the who's listening, if you don't disrupt yourself, someone else is working to disrupt you.
Yeah.
So you've got a choice, and you may
Yeah.
lose half your revenue, you may lose three-quarters of your revenue. It's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you don't move, then you're going backwards. So yeah, for sure. I'm completely
But
with
here-
you.
but here's the cool thing about tech, and I've seen this over and over again: the quicker you are to adopt, the quicker you're going to capture market share. And
Yeah.
what you'll find is the macroeconomics of any big tech move, especially AI, changes everything. So, for example, in the 90s, when machine learning for translation came out, the written word, we saw a 99 times increase in the unit size of the market,
Yeah.
that per year. And it was because everything got so cheap that people could get translation done for the first time. And you'd get all these small companies doing translation, where before it was only companies that had GDPs the size of countries. And
Yes.
you're going to see that again in AI. You're going to see that not just in my industry, but all industries. So people start buying products and services that they wouldn't dream of being able to afford pre-AI.
Yeah. So will you buy 11 Labs or will they buy you?
We're not for sale right now.
I'm
We've got our
joking. I'm
own.
joking, my friend.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
yeah. Listen, we get a lot of offers. We get
I,
people, big
I
AI
I'm sure you
jobs,
do. Yeah.
because they believe we have so much content that we can train, which is true. We can train the
Yes.
AI, and we have access to market. But I can say that the big word probably still has another 4 or 5 years of rapid growth ahead of us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was also really early into this space because I worked with the military at the time. So against really early uh, adaptations, for example, even this call as we have today, I was doing like Zoom calls, but on encrypted things and trying to have like a shared workspace, like really early 2000. So yeah, defense at the moment is using AI for what we can see on the news, which is somewhat interesting. So yeah, things are
The
moving
cool
quick.
thing about the cool thing about AI is it's making the open source Intel community very exciting, because
Yes,
in the past you had to know people. I mean, when
yes,
I worked
yes,
in the space
yes,
and ran a company called TBW Global, that you had to, it was who you knew. Like
yeah,
now you get these, what the media call warlords, but they're really village elders out in the middle
yes,
of nowhere who have a Elon Musk Starlink, and they'll tweet.
yeah,
And
exactly.
AI picks that tweet up, and or it's not
Yeah,
a tweet anymore because it's X, but whatever it is,
yes,
they'll put something out, and it'll pick it up, and it will then piece all that together. I tried something just for fun on Gemini. I said, "Can you
yeah,
give me a list of all IRGC targets in Iran?" And it built a map, and
yes,
it didn't just have IRGC names on there. It had
yeah,
hospitals that were
yeah,
linked to
exactly.
IRGC. You know, imagine being able to do that 10, 15. You couldn't, I mean, you would have to
No,
have
no, no,
teams
it
of
would be
analysts,
impossible. It would take like,
satellites.
yeah, hundreds of millions in terms of humint and imint and
Yeah.
sigint and everything. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. So the podcast name is Invest in You. What does that mean to you?
So I think I always look outwardly. So my answer might be a little bit different to a lot of the people on your podcast.
That's
I
good.
am not really focused on me personally. The big word's mission is to eradicate the final barrier of communication. And I think that by doing something with my time that is really exciting, adventurous, but good for society, I am actually making myself feel better about myself. I
Yeah,
am
I can
leaving the
relate.
world. Yeah, I'm creating jobs. I'm doing all these things, and I can feel good about what I do. I have a reason to wake up in the morning, because it doesn't
Yep,
matter how much money you make, you do get used to it. Now,
yep,
that's notwithstanding, you need enough money to live in a safe place and have food and healthcare. But once you've done that, I promise you get used to whatever you make,
yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
you always want more.
Yes,
So it's ingrained in us. So yeah, so for me, investing in me is actually doing something with my time that gives me real purpose, and that's why I've invested in the healthcare business. That's why I invested in even the falafel business
yep,
through Falafel Love, because I'm bringing plant-based food to the masses. It's comfort food. I was
yep,
sick of eating highly processed junk food. I'm a vegan,
yep.
and I wanted something that was both healthy and tasted like junk food.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for those listening out there, even if you're really your early days, if you got a mission and a vision which is way, way, way greater than your own, than yourself and your ego, number one, than the company, that has got a really mystical attraction of resources, customers, partners, as well as funds, of course. So, for example, Elon Musk would never be where he is today unless he had like this aspirational space thing going on. Same like Steve Jobs, like making a dent on the globe, like make any kind of impact. I mean, one reason why we started this podcast in the first place, like 2017, was like the UN goal number 4, which is quality education. There was no financial education. So I taught my kids how they can teach other teenagers financial stuff useful for kids. And that's kind of where we started with this podcast way back. So they've been co-host for many people on board here. So yeah. So where can people find you and follow your work?
So you know how to use LinkedIn.
Yep.
You can go there and search me up, Joshua Gould, and put the big word, and I'll come up.
Perfect.
I have my own podcast. It's just a short. I do these 7 minute to 10 minute videos once a week on ExecCraft, which is only on YouTube.
Yep.
And they're the best places, and I love to connect with people. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'll endeavor to get back to you.
Yeah, I was looking back like when did we have our first contact? And the earliest I could find, at least in my email, was from 2015, where you were tweeting about starting up your 1968 Porsche for the season. Uh, so that dates
I
some of our
just sold
communication.
it. Like I just sold that card like 2 weeks ago.
Really?
I got
So random.
I bought that car in 2012 when the
Yeah,
whole Porsche market collapsed, and I sold it for a lot more
yeah,
than I paid
yeah,
for it. But
yeah,
I
exactly.
between you and I, Frederick, I didn't
Yeah.
make any money because it cost
No,
so
no,
much
no.
money to keep it on the road, but
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, no, yeah. I can relate. Cool, guys. So you've been listening to myself and Joshua Gull, and we have been talking everything from AI to investment to how to sign language and much, much more. So I hope you got something useful that you can take away. Any closing words for the world, please, Josh?
No, Okay, here's my closing words. Please make
Yeah,
sure you hit the subscribe button. You're following Frederick. It means the world to us podcasters.
indeed. Thanks, guys. All the best.